Working as a freelancer comes with challenges, but for me, I feel like it's mostly benefits. The biggest
There's a lot of benefits to actually working for yourself and having the flexibility to work whenever you want, but let's find out what his ones are.
benefit is really the agency it gives me over my time and the ability to design my lifestyle around my job is, in my opinion, invaluable. My name is Sean Adet. I'm 30 years old and I earn around $134,000 USD a year as a food photographer in Winnipeg, Canada.
Wow, that's amazing. Earning $134,000 as a food photographer, and also given that that's actually his hobby or he actually enjoys that role. Let's find out. What are your thoughts on that?
If you don't come from a culinary arts background, you may not have the skills to work with food or style food, but having worked in the industry for so long, I was essentially coming into this new career with those skills. And so even from the very beginning, I was able to kind of carve out this little place in this niche. So on the lower end, usually we might charge around $1,000 for a shoot. That's often if a client is new and they want something a little more introductory to kind of get to know my studio. On the higher end of things, we might be charging sometimes closer to 17 and a half or so thousand dollars USD. But again, it varies wildly depending on the project. My
$17,000 just for a picture. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it, but that's really not a bad gig, and especially to enjoy what you're doing as well. What are your thoughts on the below? Would you do this job to earn this much, or would you prefer a more corporate role? Let's have a chat in the comments below.
business income has absolutely been growing consistently. I mean, when I first started out in 2018, I think I might have made around $10,000 Canadian or so, but then it would double and double and double again, essentially every year. And it was at that
It just goes to show that persistence goes a long way. Sometimes you don't always get the optimal amount that you want right away, and being really passionate about what you do, you find that the income comes.
point that I realized I should probably really pay attention to it and that it was definitely something to pursue. Mainly, those expenses are going to be those location rentals and hiring other professionals, so models, stylists, and sometimes additional help. I worked in culinary arts, hospitality really, as a cook and then sous chef in restaurants and pop-ups for about 5 to 7 years before I really started working on photography. I eventually got into photography as part of the research and development program, and that kind of spun into a bit of a passion that I decided to turn into first just a little side gig doing photography.
There's absolutely nothing better than making money out of your passion or your side hustle, because essentially you do enjoy that, and having the money just comes as a bonus. What do you think?
photography for a few clients that I would find. I'd always really enjoyed kind of making beautiful food in restaurants. Plating was one of the things I enjoyed the most about cooking, really. Although it seems like a bit of a leap, it really wasn't. I was able to sort of leverage those skills that I had developed in the kitchen into a really successful early career doing food photography because I already had those kind of soft skills essentially. I learned to do photography mainly through trial and error and watching videos on YouTube. When I very first started at the college, I was able to procure a bit of a budget and I was able to learn a bit on that equipment. But when I was doing my own work on the side, I actually borrowed a camera from a friend. I got some really, really cheap lights off of Amazon, really the only thing I could afford at the time. And that's where I got my start.
It literally just goes to show that you don't need expensive equipment to start your side hustle. Even starting off with a phone, your iPhone, your cheap cameras, or even filming in the daytime, so you don't need cameras. Um, Starting from somewhere, I think, is the main point here. And he seems to have known what he wants to do and what he enjoys, and he went straight into trying to make it work, which is really good for him because it has worked out really well. Sometimes, we do put off things simply because we think it's going to cost a lot more just to start your passion or your side hustle. But sometimes it's just a matter of starting small and really building your way up. But let's hear what he has to say.
Juggling 2 or 3 jobs at the same time is never easy, but I do think it's a necessary step. It's going to be time consuming. You're going to have to make sacrifices, but oftentimes it's just a necessary part of building something up. My first big investment was around $15,000 USD or $20,000 Canadian. And then since then, I may have added on an extra $10,000 or $15,000. As COVID hit and hospitality really took a big hit, I transitioned away from that and into product photography, being a job that I could do literally from anywhere, and especially that I could do from my own home full-time. The focus.
This is really amazing. You can see the quality that he puts into his shoots. It makes sense why he's, earning the amount that he's earning from doing this and also still enjoying what he does, which is very important as well.
Focus of my photography still is more so towards food. As time progressed, it's moved a little bit more toward food products, beverages as well, and now it's moved a little bit into things like cosmetics as well. The team can be as small as just myself or myself and my primary assistant, Michaela. It can be as big as a crew of like 12 people if we're doing a larger budget production that needs especially models and set stylists. A big part of our process is making sure that the sets themselves are dressed correctly and that the props that we're using match whatever our company or client's brand needs. And a big part of that is sourcing things, whether it's custom props or sometimes sourcing things like the perfect piece of produce. These are so nice. My favorite trick when it comes to making food look good is probably just a paintbrush and oil. So either you can use like a little spritz bottle to spritz a little bit of water on it, or oftentimes it's literally a paintbrush with a bit of oil and then you just gently paint onto whatever product you're doing to give it that glisten. I think there's always going to be a little bit of anxiety around trying new things or making a big leap like that. It's always a risk. But even
That's true. Starting something new is always a risk and it's always scary simply because you don't know what's on the other side, especially if it seems like you have to take a pay cut just to do what you love or just to do your passion project. And you have to really weigh out the pros and cons of you pivoting towards your goals or towards living and having a better work-life balance. What are your thoughts? Let me know below.
if it doesn't work out, I think it's worth trying. There's usually something that you can take away from it, whether that's a skill or a lesson. And I've found that despite the challenges that leaping into something new usually presents, I've never really regretted it.
There you go. So there's always lessons to be learned. I mean, no one ever really moved forward from staying in the same spot. So if you feel like, you can make some changes somewhere or you're feeling like you need a better option, it's always worthwhile trying it and giving it a go. I mean, after all, what's the worst that could happen? Thank you for watching and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.